I chose to sell a lot of our smaller stuff, and had that challenge of, okay, let's find that large property. So that was a huge challenge in a very competitive market.
Let's focus on I'm curious on your wisdom on capital gains tax deferral, and maybe the biggest frustration you or clients have faced when it comes to selling highly appreciated assets and capital gains tax deferral options. So what's the biggest frustration that you face with that for yourself?
Well, my original thought back was in 2019. Managing at the time was probably about 45 properties, consisting of over 200 apartments. And, I had that fantasy over the years, and looked at it much more seriously of, how can I sell these smaller properties and exchange them into, one large 150 apartment complex. So I chose to, sell a lot of our smaller stuff, and, had that challenge of, okay, let's find that large property. So that was a huge challenge in a very competitive market. So, we had very good luck selling of a lot of our properties because the market was so hot. But then finding the large property was that big challenge in this environment. So, I was left, looking in the Albany, Saratoga market, looking in North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida. So, if anyone's not familiar with the 1031 exchange, you have that 45-day identification period, which goes by very quickly. So when we had sold large chunks of small properties within a certain time frame, it was an added challenge, in relation to just selling one and exchanging into another. We're left taking, in our case, 6 or 7 or 8 properties that we had sold, within a couple weeks from each other, where we had to thread that needle, so to speak, and work with those time constraints and identify that next larger purchase. So that had been our largest challenge, is dealing with that time constraint, specifically in such a hot market.
Yeah, we call that the shotgun wedding, right? Where you're going to get engaged in 45 days there, Bill, and you're getting married in 180. And it really becomes complicated when you got multiple small properties. You're not just trading one property for another, but you're literally trading all these small deals, trying to put it all to the qualified intermediary to gather up enough cash for the down payment for the one larger deal. And we call it the Blockbuster way of doing things. And you might not know this, Bill, but here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions, we have an amazing solution called the Deferred Sales Trust, which solves that. And what you can do now is sell each individual property, move it into one trust, and you can sell these properties slowly. We like to say, go find that ideal primary home family buyer who can get that FHA financing, right? Who can maximize and get a 30-year fixed loans and pay a price versus selling them in bulk to investors, which typically want lower, a lower price, right? And then as you gather all this cash, now the next cool thing is you can wait on the sidelines. And you can purchase the real estate when you find the deal. And you might find the deal tomorrow, day 46, day 181, or maybe even 5 years from now. In fact, we just did a deal. We sold a deal in Georgia. It was a 126 unit. We saved a failed 1031 exchange. He paid off all of his debt, parked the funds in the trust, and he's still waiting. He's still waiting. I mean, he put some of it into some passive deals, which is pretty cool. Actually, that one in Tampa, he put some of it there, one passive deal in Texas. But his thought was, I'm in California. I'm an expert for some areas of California, some areas of Georgia. But if I can't find a deal, if I can just wait on the sidelines and buy at a different time, all tax deferred, that changes everything. And so that's what the Deferred Sales Trust can do. By the way, you can learn more about that at capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That being said, any thoughts on that, Bill? Have you heard of that before?
I have not heard of that before. I feel naive stating that, but I appreciate that insight, because boy, that does or can really solve that time constraint issue.
Yeah, 100%. It's transformational once you understand it, and that's part of my story. Actually, in 2006, it was the height of the market. I'm at Marcus and Millichap, helping clients buy and sell multifamily properties, and we learned about the 1031 exchange about day 3. We also learned about like TICs and Delaware Statutory Trust, which is just another form of 1031. And so we were helping people, but then the market crashed, and we went from making a little bit of money to none for brokers, and then our clients fighting with the banks, holding on, and we kept identifying that the 1031 was a part of the challenge because people knew it was not a good time to buy in 05, 06, but they felt trapped by that huge 30 to 50% in capital gains tax, and so they used the 1031 exchange. And then they weren't diversified, and they had too much debt, and then the rest is kind of history. Well, with the Deferred Sales Trust, you don't have to do that ever again, and it's not a 1031. So it's why we started our company, honestly, because of what I saw, the pain for friends and family and clients in the great financial crash. And so here we are, and it kind of feels similar. I don't know what you think of the marketplace. Not that I think it's '08 with the debt, but it just feels like things are very, very high. And it feels like it's a great time to sell, not a good time to buy. But